Hi, I'm Kenton Baird, owner and managing broker at Northwest Real Estate in Woodward. I wanted to spend some time with you today to go over some changes at Northwest Real Estate and the real estate industry as a whole. First of all, I would like to explain a very important fact. I, as a broker, am licensed and governed by only one entity, the state where I practice real estate. I'm currently licensed in the states of Oklahoma and Kansas. I am governed by them and only them. I have been a realtor since I became licensed in the state of Oklahoma. In order to be a realtor, you must join a national as well as a state and local association. The association is a union of sorts in which you have to join in order to be a part of their multiple listing service. Most people know this as the MLS. The National Association of Realtors, which I will refer to as the NAR, espouses that a realtor honors a code of ethics that a licensed real estate broker supposedly does not. I disagree with this assertion. As a person born and raised in Woodward and many years practicing real estate with one of the most respected brokerages in town, I do not feel that I need a large union telling me how to be ethical. Being ethical and treating people with respect does not come from taking a 3-hour course. It comes from a higher standard within us all. You're either ethical or you're not, and that does not come from a sheet of paper, but from how you choose to do business. You are either a good egg or a bad egg, and eventually no one wants to do business with a bad egg. The NAR has been plagued by a lawsuit, which I will talk about later. A president in resigning due to sexual harassment claims by office co-workers. Recently, according to a New York Times article, lavishly and frivolously spending money on items such as trips, consultants, private club fees, up to $75,000. There is more, but I just wanted you to understand that the NAR, according to my beliefs, is an out-of-control union that is spending money and acts like a drunken sailor. Secondly, many have probably heard of the most recent lawsuit. Now, I am not an attorney, so I just want you to understand that this is my opinion and my understanding of that, and only that. The class action lawsuit was brought by a group of sellers that said, "Why do we have to pay the commission for buyer's agents that sell my house? The buyer should have to pay their own way." So as of August 17th, due to a ruling against the NAR settled to the tune of $418 million. Like all class action lawsuits, the attorneys walked away with a very sizable sum. As a matter of fact, there is word that one of those plaintiffs, Josh Sitzer, is joining with others to start his own real estate startup company to compete with the NAR and MLS. But I'm not going to get into that here because I'm unsure of the facts. Just last week, an article in Inman, the go-to real estate publication for our industry, read, "The new year will bring appeals, buyer commission cases, fights over a National Association of Realtor policies, and possible Department of Justice intervention." To me, it all smells bad, and I don't believe it is in the interests of my customers. Here's why. As a result of this lawsuit, everyone agreed that the buyers that were represented by NAR members, realtors, must sign a buyer's brokerage agreement and have potential buyers do the same. This agreement will tie the hands of the buyer to the realtor for a specific amount of time, or the number of homes that are looked at, and most importantly, details the way the realtor representing the buyer is paid before they can even show you a home. Within this agreement, everything is still very negotiable: percentages, timeframes, and who pays what. However, now you have formed a contract with a realtor. Now let's talk about the money side of this contract. If the seller chooses not to pay the buyer's agent, then either the buyer's agent works for free or the buyer has to pay for services rendered. It has always basically been this way, but that is the reason for the lawsuit. I guess realtors somewhere did not explain and disclose it properly. Funny, isn't it, about ethical standards? Anyway, so the ruling came down that yet another form needs to be signed by the buyer, tying the hands of the buyer, and it has created even more paperwork And once again, I'm not going to get into that here. So let's imagine that you're a young couple and you want to buy your first home. And you've scraped and saved and worked for years to afford a down payment for your new home. You call me up and say, hey, Kenton, we want to go look at houses. Under these new rules in place at the NAR, I must first have a conversation with you. That conversation is and must include, you must sign this agreement, and how will you pay me? Can you imagine having to sign an agreement to just go look? I don't. And I don't feel comfortable asking friends, clients, family members to do so as well. If you're a person with limited funds and have just enough down payment, you do not want me asking for another $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 for this, or even a few hundred. That puts a tremendous strain on the new home buyer. Now, we can still ask the seller to pay the compensation. However, if they choose not to, the agreement states that you are tied to me for a specific amount of time. This rule is only if you're a member of the NAR and you're a realtor. I need to stress that. If you're not a member of the NAR and just licensed by the state, and let me remind you, that is the only governing body of everything I do and my only governing body, my response to you will be, if you want to go look at homes, absolutely, let's go. No buyer's brokerage agreements must be signed. Now, that is not to say that that conversation may need to take place down the road if the seller is willing not to pay the commission, perhaps, but currently most sellers are willing to compensate the buyer's agent as well. Why? Well, this is my take. If you have two favorited homes as your possible future dream home, and you're having a tough decision on which one to choose, and you learn that one seller is compensating the buyer's broker and the other is not, one saving you thousands at closing, I suspect that could weigh into your decision. Sellers want to make their homes as attractive as possible to prospective buyers. So to recap, does that mean that those conversations will not need to be had? No, they will. But you will not have to sign an agreement to go look at houses. We can go look and then decide how to proceed. Imagine tying your hands to 2 or 3 or 6 months with a person you choose not to work with after they've shown you only a couple of houses. Sometimes you just don't enjoy the dance and you'd like a new partner. Well, this agreement basically says you must finish that dance. Now let's talk about the seller side. If you're not a member of the if you're not a member of the NAR, you lose access to their MLS. Oh, that's bad, right? No. Over the last few years, and especially due to the recent lawsuit, the MLS tied to the NAR has become irrelevant, and more irrelevant by the day. How do you ask? The reason is very simple. Years ago, if you wanted to go look at a home, you had to call a realtor because they were the keeper to the key of the MLS, and there was no internet. Information was not available to the consumer. That has changed big time. Think back to how you used to buy homes or cars or anything for that matter. You had to go to the keeper of the information. Now that information is free to anyone who has a cell phone or computer with an internet connection. Over the last few years, I've witnessed most of my customers calling me asking to look at a house that they saw online with the square footage, price, everything about the house that they have on hand already. If you have been looking at homes, chances are you know this. Many times you have just as much information as the realtor does. Do these websites ring a bell? Zillow or Realtor.com? Oh, by the way, did you know that Realtor.com is not even owned by the NAR? You, the consumer, have all the information. There is no gatekeeper anymore, period. Now, I know this has gone on for a considerable amount of time, so I want to end with this. I've decided to leave the NAR and the local and state chapters. I'm licensed by the state, and the state does not follow NAR policy or their rules. This is not a state law. So the question you might be asking is, Kenton, will you have access to the MLS now? The MLS information is out there free and available to everyone, even you. But to answer your question, yes, a nationwide MLS, a different MLS that does not require you to be a realtor, that feeds everything to the internet where you can find it, and most importantly, customers that are looking to sell or buy their next home. So the whole way of looking at houses just changed, and I don't like it. Adding additional requirements on signatures and documents is asking too much of you, the consumer, I feel. There is a statue of two cowboys shaking hands out front of the Bank of Western Oklahoma that reads, "Binding contract." Wouldn't it be nice to go back to those times? Yet I fear some of the new rules and paperwork are just making it more difficult to look at homes, sell homes, and it's not pleasant at all. Born and raised in Woodward, Oklahoma, most of you know me. The reason my brokerage has been successful is because I treat people with respect and I have a name and a reputation to uphold. That is my code of ethics. I would love to sell you a home or list yours without all of the lawsuit-ridden rules that have been recently enacted. You will need to choose someone who can navigate all of this nonsense and has years of experience under their belt, and to keep it simple. Simple is better, in my opinion. If you want to go look at houses, let's go. Please call Casey Barnes, my associate, or myself. We would like to show you the stress-free and no need to worry difference that Northwest Real Estate can provide. We have a great working relationship with every brokerage in town, and we're able to show you virtually any home in Northwest Oklahoma, even the entire states of Oklahoma and Kansas, if you wish. We're not the largest brokerage in town, and we don't want to be. We don't want to get so covered up or busy that we lose our focus, and our focus is you. Please visit our website at renorthwest.com. Call us at 580-256-7055 or stop by for a cup of coffee. We'd love to visit with you. Have a great day and have a great new year.